Hey everyone, and welcome back to Everyday Tech Explained. Today we're tackling a pretty common tech headache.
Oh, yeah.
How to reclaim tons of Gmail storage space without deleting those precious emails or paying for Google One.
Right.
We found this clever trick in a recent CNET article.
Oh, cool.
So if you're constantly battling that dreaded storage full notification,
Ugh, I hate that.
hit that like and subscribe button, and let's dive in.
So what I think is so fascinating about this method is it's not even just about the storage.
Right.
It's about, taking control of your digital legacy,
Yeah.
Most people, I don't think they realize just how much digital clutter they accumulate over time, and then they kind of feel trapped by that 15 gigabyte limit.
Right. 15 gigabytes, it used to seem like a lifetime supply.
Oh, no.
And now it's shared across Gmail and Drive and Photos.
Yeah, all of it.
And suddenly you're getting those warnings.
Exactly. And then the usual options are kind of less than ideal.
Yeah.
Deleting old emails can feel like you're erasing personal history. Downloading large files, so time-consuming.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to pay for extra storage if they can avoid it.
Okay, so what's the alternative?
Well,
This CNET article called it the nuclear option. And I gotta admit, it piqued my curiosity.
yeah, it's a pretty clever solution, basically. You create a second Gmail account,
Okay.
specifically as an email archive. Think of it like moving all your old stuff into a super organized storage unit where you can still access everything.
So you maintain inbox zero without actually losing access to anything.
Exactly.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. And I can see how this would be especially useful for people with old school or work email accounts
Oh, totally.
that they'll eventually lose access to.
Yeah, you're future-proofing your digital life.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
And the steps are surprisingly simple,
Okay.
although there are a few nuances to be aware of.
All right, let's break it down.
Okay.
Step one, according to CNET, is to back up your emails,
Yes. Always back up.
just in case they recommend using Google Takeout.
Takeout's a great tool.
Yeah.
It can download your entire Gmail history, your contacts, your calendar data,
Oh,
everything all nicely packaged up.
that's awesome.
They actually tested this process with an account that had about 75,000 emails.
Okay.
It took about 2 hours to back up.
Oh, that's not too bad.
No, not at all.
So while that's running in the background, what's next?
All right, so you'll need to tweak a setting in your original Gmail account
Okay.
to allow your new account to grab those emails. It's called POP access.
Okay.
And we'll link to a step-by-step guide in the show notes
Perfect.
to make it super easy.
So then we create the new archive account and link it to the original account
Yeah.
to initiate the transfer.
Exactly. But here's where it gets a little interesting.
Okay.
You might need something called an app password for this to work.
App password. Okay, and I'm really intrigued. Tell me more about these app passwords.
So think of this app password as like a VIP path, specifically for transferring your emails.
Got it.
Google gets a little security conscious, and your regular password won't work for this kind of transfer.
That makes sense. They want to make sure it's really you.
Exactly. So you might need to create a temporary app password just for this process.
Okay.
You find it in your Google account settings under security.
And is this a one-time thing or will we need it later?
Here's the catch. Google only shows you the app password once.
Wait, seriously? Only once?
Yeah, just once. It's like a super secret code, so make sure you record it.
Okay.
Because you won't be able to see it again.
Got it. App password written down in a safe place. What happens next?
Once you've entered that app password, the transfer process should start automatically.
And how long does that typically take? We're talking potentially thousands of emails here.
Yeah, you're right. It can take a while.
Okay.
For that 75,000 email account, the whole transfer took about 2 days.
2 days.
Uh,
Okay, so this is exactly a quick fix.
Right.
But I guess you're reclaiming a massive amount of storage space
You are.
without lifting a finger.
Exactly. But don't forget, those emails are actually moved to your trash folder
Oh.
in the original account.
Oh, right.
They're still taking up space until you empty the trash.
Oh, right. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah.
So emptying the trash is a crucial step.
Very important.
How long did that take in CNET's test?
It took about an hour for those 75,000 emails.
Oh,
But hey, it's an hour well spent when you think about all the storage space you're getting back.
definitely. And all those old emails are still accessible in the archive account, right?
Absolutely. But speaking of those old emails,
Yeah.
are there any caveats, anything that doesn't get transferred?
That's a good question. What about drafts and spam?
That's one thing to keep in mind. Drafts and spam messages
Okay.
aren't automatically included in the transfer.
That makes sense. Drafts are kind of a work in progress anyway.
Yeah.
And I guess most people don't want to preserve their spam folder for posterity.
Yeah. Right, exactly. You'll need to decide what to do with those manually.
Oh, yeah.
You can either let spam auto-delete after 30 days or go in and clear it out yourself.
Okay.
Drafts you'll have to manage manually if you want to keep them.
Okay, so drafts and spam, we'll handle those separately.
Yep.
Anything else we should know?
Here's a crucial step. Once all your emails are transferred, you'll want to stop the automatic process.
Oh, right.
So your new emails don't also get archived.
Right. We don't want to end up with an empty inbox all the time.
Exactly. It's super easy to do. Just go back to your settings in the archive account
Okay.
and remove the link to your original account.
Got it. And while we're in the security mindset, what about that app password we created?
Oh.
Should we delete that too?
Absolutely. Once the transfer is complete, you definitely want to delete that app password.
Okay.
It's always best to minimize any potential security risks.
So just to recap, we back up our emails, enable POP access, create the archive account, link it using the app password, let the transfer happen, empty the trash in the original account,
Right.
stop the automatic transfer, and delete the app password. Did I miss anything?
You got it.
Awesome.
It sounds like a lot, but trust me, it's worth it for the peace of mind and storage space you'll gain.
And it's not like you have to do this every day.
Yeah.
Once it's set up, you're good to go.
Exactly. And there's one final tip to keep in mind. Remember that Google will delete inactive accounts after 2 years. So even your archive account needs a little love every now and then.
So we're not completely off the hook, but hey, logging in once every 2 years
Yeah.
is a small price to pay for all that free storage.
Right. Exactly. It's like a little digital spring cleaning, and it's a great chance to revisit those old emails.
Right.
And maybe rediscover some forgotten gems.
Oh, maybe just make sure there's nothing too embarrassing lurking in there, from our younger, less tech-savvy selves.
Always a good idea.
Speaking of which, how much space did CNET actually reclaim with this method? You said they started with a pretty full account, right?
Oh yeah, their test account was using 80% of their 15 gigabytes.
Wow.
After the transfer and emptying the trash, they were down to using like a tiny fraction.
Really?
It was pretty impressive.
That's amazing. They basically went from a storage crisis to having tons of room to spare.
Right.
I'm starting to see the appeal of this nuclear option.
Yeah.
It's a bit more involved than just hitting delete,
Sure.
but it seems worth it for the peace of mind and storage you gain.
I think so too. And it's not just about avoiding that dreaded storage full notification. It's about having a system where you can always access important emails,
Right.
even if something happens to your main account.
That's a great point. But wouldn't it be easier to just pay for extra storage? Is the time investment for this method really worth it?
I think it depends on your priorities. For some people, paying a monthly fee is the simplest solution.
Yeah.
But for others, the idea of having a completely separate archive that they control is more appealing. Plus, it's a one-time effort that can save you money in the long run.
I see your point. It's all about weighing the value of your time versus the cost of storage.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've walked through the steps, talked about the benefits, and even touched on some potential pitfalls. What do you think our listeners should consider before trying this out? What are some things to keep in mind?
Well, first off, it's important to be realistic about the time commitment. This isn't a 5-minute fix.
Yeah.
It can take a couple of days for the transfer to complete, especially for large accounts.
Right, and don't forget about the app password.
Oh, yes, very important.
I'm sure to write it down somewhere safe because Google only shows it once.
Exactly, that's a crucial detail. And once the transfer is done, remember to delete that app password for security reasons.
Good reminders. Is there anything else people should be aware of?
I'd say think carefully about what you want to archive. This method is ideal for emails you need to keep for reference.
Okay.
But don't access regularly like old newsletters, receipts, or confirmations. You don't necessarily want to archive every single email, just the ones you might need in the future.
That makes sense. So maybe create some filters or folders in your main account to separate what stays and what goes to the archive.
Exactly. A little organization up front can save you a lot of hassle later on. And while you're thinking about organization, this might also be a good time to revisit your overall email management strategy. Do you have a system for dealing with incoming emails? Are you using filters effectively?
You're right. This whole process can be a good opportunity to step back and rethink how we use email in general.
Think of it as a digital decluttering project, not just for your storage space, but for your mental space as well.
I love that.
Yeah.
So what does all this mean for our listeners?
Well, it means you don't have to be held hostage by that 15 gigabyte limit. There's a clever and surprisingly easy way to reclaim a ton of Gmail storage without deleting anything important.
And it's not just for people who are drowning in emails. If you have an old school or work account you want to preserve,
right,
this is a fantastic solution.
Yeah.
It's like creating your own personal email time capsule.
Precisely. And while it does require a bit of time and effort up front,
Sure.
the payoff in terms of storage space and peace of mind can be significant.
All right, so there you have it. A simple yet powerful hack for anyone who wants to take control of their inbox and their digital legacy. So that's been Everyday Tech Explained. What do you think of this Gmail storage hack?
Yeah.
Genius or too much effort? It seems like a pretty clever solution to me, especially for those of us who are a little, shall we say, attached to our email history.
Yeah, I agree. It's a surprisingly effective method for reclaiming storage and taking control of your digital legacy.
Right. And the CNET article provides really clear instructions.
Yes, they do.
Plus, we'll link to their step-by-step guide in the show notes.
Absolutely.
So you can easily follow along.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, what about you? Do you use this archiving method, or do you have a different system for managing your inbox?
You know, I have to admit, I'm a bit of an email minimalist. I try to keep my inbox as close to zero as possible.
Okay.
So this particular hack isn't something I personally use.
Gotcha.
But I can definitely see the value for people who have a lot of emails they need to keep for reference.
That makes sense. I guess it all comes down to personal preference.
Yeah.
And how you use email.
Definitely.
But for anyone who's feeling overwhelmed by a full inbox and the prospect of deleting precious messages, this is definitely a strategy worth exploring.
Absolutely. And even if you're not quite at the point of needing to archive, it's a good idea to be aware of this option and start thinking about how you want to manage your digital footprint in the long run.
Great point. So for our listeners out there, we want to hear from you.
Yes.
Have you tried this Gmail archiving method? Do you have a different system for wrangling your inbox?
Let us know.
Let us know in the comments below.
Yeah.
And while you're at it, if you found this episode helpful, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more practical tech tips. Thanks for listening.